and they sneeringly referred to them as slaves to the Christos, or the Christ. Okay, so there it is there. So there's the evidence there, that he didn't say those that believed, as this person claimed. See? So these people, that name Christians, had its origins coming from the Greek, the Roman, the Latin borrowed Greek, the Roman loan word from the Greek Latin Christus, okay, which in English was Christians, okay, came from them. Okay, it was a name put upon them. So the Roman Empirical Church and their adherents adopted that name, right? And anyone that wasn't of that pagan side of it, that's what they were titled. Yeah, and he did some really horrible things, but as it says in the beginning of Tacitus, even Nero, in regards to Vespasian, had to turn his head. Okay, the little that is known about the life of Tacitus, right? Biographical note: Tacitus, born 55 to 117. He died at 117, right? Okay, and this is this page is book is a bit ripped when we got it. It's at the front of it, right? And it says, this little that is known about the life of Tacitus is provided by allusions. He had allusions in his own writings, and that's what causes people doubts. The scholars, etc. And the letter suggested to him by his intimate friend Pliny the Younger. When Tacitus began his histories, somewhere about his 40th, 50th year, he related his life to the empire that was to be the burden of his narrative. I myself know nothing of Galba, of Orho, or of Vitellius, either from benefits or from injuries. I would not deny that my elevation was begun by Vespasian, augmented by Titus, and still further advanced by Domitian. I have reserved as an employment for my old age, should my life be long enough, a subject at once more fruitful and less anxious in the reign of the divine Nerva, one of the goddesses or something like that, an empire at Trajan, enjoying the rare happiness of times where we may think what we please and express what we think. The influential part of Tacitus' education took place during the early part of Vespasian's reign. It is possible that, like his friend Pliny, he was trained in rhetoric by Quintilian, for whom Vespasian had found the first public chair of eloquence at Rome. Tacitus himself records how zealous he was for achievement and how diligently he pursued and studied the leading orators. It is not known on what occasion he began his own political blah 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 blah. So Tacitus' success was as an orator was followed by marriage to the daughter of Julius Agricola. So he was a renowned success as an orator. As an orator. Okay. And by the time Tacitus returned to Rome, the full force of Domitian's tyranny had developed, because what we've read is that Tiberius stepped down for a couple of years, and he came across information about the Christ, heard about the Christ, and he started to believe it. He come back and he's going to preach about it, talk about it, whatever, to the Senate, etc. But they said, no, we're not going to have a word of it. And by the time Tacitus returned to Rome, the full force of Domitian's tyranny had developed. He later declared his father-in-law fortunate in death, since thereby escaped the sight of these last 3 years, during which Domitian, leaving now no interval or breathing space, but as it were with one continuous blow, drained the lifeblood of the Commonwealth, or Rome, right? He was so evil, he was killing the people and others, he was doing all these horrendous things. Tacitus was at the height of his powers, in his career, right? And consulship was due him in the normal course of advancement. So that's like a decree of he should be deified, right? From the Senate. Yet unless he would risk his life, he could not abandon his office, seek advancement, or absent himself. The orator chose silence, broken only when Domitian demanded flattery as an accompaniment to his acts of terror. It's like, okay, I'm deified by decree, I'm a god, with this sort of crap, so you should bow down to me, worship me, all that sort of stuff. Okay? So he wanted all the people to worship him, pay him attention, etc. he was demanding flatulence, not flatulence, that's farting, right? Flattery from the people, okay? As an accompaniment to his acts of terror. He was more evil than Nero. The emperor enforced full attendance in the Senate when honourable men were being judicially murdered, so that he could see plainly whether you have any affection for me. That's what he's saying, right? Okay. He wants your praise, your attention, your worship. He was testing people up. Tacitus wrote of this experience. Even Nero turned his eyes away and did not gaze upon the atrocities which he ordered. With Domitian, it was a chief part of our miseries to see and to be seen. It's Nero talking about Domitian. He couldn't gaze upon the atrocities which Domitian had ordered. With Domitian, it was the chief part of our miseries to see and be seen, to know that our sighs were being recorded. So what he was doing was all testing, to try and get reactions. The assassination of Domitian in 96 brought unexpected release from this tyrann, from that tyrant, right? Which Tacitus said left some of the living no more than survivors of themselves. There can be no doubt of the effect upon him. We witnessed the extreme of servitude when the informer robbed us of the interchange of speech and hearing. So they were denied freedom of speech, being heard, etc. We should have lost memory as well as voice had it been as easy to forget as to keep silent. That he failed to maintain memory during that period of unnatural silence seems probable. He went out to speak out against him, right? Vespasian, etc. Since the opening pages of his Life of Agricola, 98, refer to his histories as having been begun shortly after the death of Domitian. It would hold, he said, the memory of past servitude and then give testimony to present happiness. As he worked on this book and later on the Annals, he extended his memory past the emperors of his childhood, the four who succeeded one another within 14 months after the death of Nero, to the death of Augustus. These Roman emperors are all deified except for Tiberius. He refused it because he wanted it. He wanted the honours for the benefit, or that which befit men. Okay, he didn't want that. He didn't want to be deified, and so forth. And him being a orator, and having rhetoric, skilled in rhetoric, means that he had skill in the use of language, the power of pleasing or persuading, affected and exaggerated. Yeah, that's why they said he had illusions. Display of language, especially written. Okay, so that's directly from the biographical note of Tacitus and the Annals, the Histories by Britannica, great books. So that person who said they believed Christus was the person they believed in is wrong. He's got it wrong. So that's why he comes at us and tries to find something else to stick to us. Okay? So these Romans, great borrowers of all things Egyptian and Greek, as were the Greeks or the Egyptians, etc. Okay? They wanted to be everything that the Egyptians were, but they got upset because there's one thing they couldn't be, and that was black. That's why you have a lot of musicians today that sing and dance in the same style as the American Negroes, the rappers, the pop stars, etc. They're trying to copy them, right? They're plagiarising their style. It's a fact. Okay, and he says there were no disciples. If there were 12 disciples, if there were no 12 disciples, King Agbar the Black would never have met Thaddeus or Adai and be healed. So there were 12 disciples, or else King Agbar the Black would never have met Thaddeus or Adai and be healed. The histories of the original Church of the East wouldn't have been founded by the disciple Thomas. Yeah, the original Church of the East wouldn't have been founded by the disciple Thomas, and there'd be no original ancient very old manuscripts hidden and preserved by the original ancient Church of the East, the one that he founded throughout the centuries, right? No Mart Royal, etc. in the video that we did. Okay, so there would be no Caesars like Tiberius. You wouldn't have to worry about them because, there would be no Caesars like Tiberius who was curious about that Christ. No Tacitus, orator, historian. No Josephus, supposedly a historian, Jewish historian of the Flavian family, a Roman family. No Pilate, procurator. No church fathers that came later on through the Roman Empirical Church, Catholic Church. No archaeological digs to be found, digging up the evidence, any evidence. especially religion-wise, Judaism, the Jews, etc., etc. At no point anyone copying ancient manuscripts and discarding them in caves that were found, etc. And no reason for atheists to carry on and on and on and on. Lol. So, Guy, listen again to the video upload, solid evidence that Jesus Christ existed, at 6:09 to 6:13 of a 21:49 length video that we uploaded, right? Where the priest interviewed actually states the church in Jerusalem, not necessarily a building, but a gathering, a body of Christ, where all people like gather into one place and they worship Christ, right? God, etc. Christ church, he was probably referring to it as the spiritual church in Scripture as such, but there's mention of it being destroyed by the priest in their interview, right, with him and Stephen Missick, and that lady was interviewing him. Okay, but there is mention of it being destroyed, and here it is here. History of the Church, Volume 1, Philip Scarf. The Christians of Jerusalem, remembering the Lord's admonition, forsook the doomed city in good time and fled to the town of Pella in the Decapolis, beyond the Jordan in the north of Perea, where King Herod Agrippa II, before whom Paul once stood, opened to them a safe asylum. And old tradition says that a divine voice or angel revealed to their leaders the duty of flight. There, in the midst of a population chiefly Gentile, the church of the circumcision, it means like circumcision of the heart according to the scriptures and revelations, etc. Right? It's no longer a circumcision of flesh, but it's a circumcision of the spirit. That's what it's mean. See, was reconstructed. Unfortunately, its history is hidden from us, but it never recovered its former importance. The history is not hidden; it's been ignored. Okay, you're not being told about it by the Western theologians, right? It's been completely ignored. They don't want you to know about it. Okay, they want you to totally rely on their Western theology, their Western terminology, their translations, transliterations, interpolations, etc., etc. They'll say, oh no, Christ never spoke Greek, never spoke Aramaic, he never spoke Hebrew, he was Greek. God was Greek, Jesus was Greek, all the apostles were Greek, all the disciples were Greek, Solomon was black, everybody was black, Jesus was black, all that sort of rubbish, right? Okay? So it's been hidden. Okay? There in the midst of a population chiefly Gentile, the church of the circumcision was reconstructed. Okay, that church of the Spirit, right, was reconstructed. They put up a fake one, right? Well, okay, here it says, in the midst of a population chiefly Gentile, the church of the circumcision, or the of the Spirit, yeah, was constructed. Unfortunately, its history is hidden from us, because that's what it's referring to, that particular church, right? But it never recovered its former importance. But it will. The Syrian church will rise again. The Syrian church, because these scriptures where they and the Egyptians and Israel play a major part towards the end of it all. When Jerusalem was rebuilt as a Christian city, its bishop was raised to the dignity of one of the four patriarchs of the East, not patriarchs of the West. Okay, these are like heads, right? Priests, high priests, heads of that church, right? Or a certain church, but it was a patriarchate of honour, not of power, and sank to a mere shadow after the Mohammedan invasion, because they came in under different caliphates and just harassed them, killed them, murdered them, martyred them, called them heretics, etc., etc. So they eventually fled along with their texts. God himself, here you go, God himself destroyed the house in which he had thus far dwelt, in which Jesus had taught, and which the apostles had prayed. So house defined, definition from the King James Version Dictionary, av1611.com, KJV Dictionary definition, house. 1. In a general sense, a building or shed intended or used as a habitation of shelter or shelter for animals of any kind. But 2. An edifice or building appropriated to the worship of God, a temple, a church as the house of God. It could be either a temple, a church, a house. It's where they all congregated, they got together and they worshipped God. Okay? And here it is again, the dictionary. It therefore meant the congregation, the gathering of believers, the body of a spiritual church, and an actual meeting place. House they all gathered in with the disciples, Jesus and the disciples, etc. The 12, perhaps the 70 to 72 apostles, we had a big enough house, selected by Jesus himself. It's going on about how they were selected by him. They stood before him and he selected them. Okay? And he sent out 2 by 2, these chosen to all countries. They were told to go to by Jesus himself and preach, teach the good news. They were part of a church not built by hands. That's the futuristic church, right? A spiritual church, not a building, not built by hands, as Jesus stated in the scripture, supposedly, and that Peter was to be the rock, the foundation of that church in Jerusalem at the time. In Jerusalem. We have read of Victor N. Alexander's translation project, hinting at that somewhere. We can't remember if that is exactly where we first saw it, or somebody else, some other translator, right? Verifying that. So as we've suggested, church has dual meaning, a dual definition. The statement that there was a church, a house, a gathering place, a building in Jerusalem that was destroyed. It's destroyed by God. He rejected his peculiar people for their obstinate rejection of the Messiah. He demolished the whole fabric of the Mosaic theocracy. Okay, he's talking about the temple, the Pharisaic traditions, all this sort of stuff, associated exclusively with the tabernacle at first and afterwards with the temple. But in doing so, he cut the cords which he had hitherto bound, and according to the law of organic development, necessarily bound the infant church, that small church, that new church or body, congregation, gathering of believers, the 12 disciples, etc., as defined by us. Okay, because we define what church, house, etc. means to the economy of the Old Covenant and to Jerusalem as its centre. Effects of the destruction of Jerusalem on the Christian church. Yeah? That's a title erroneously given those 12 disciples. If you look behind their being kosher, etc., then you may come across the name that they actually used in their language, okay, rather than this word Christian, which they believe was of Rome and pagan. No, didn't want to be referred to as that, or said to be of that, when a lot of them were like Roman adherents of the empirical church and mixing pagan ideas, right? Godless ideas. What is a church? Its role and purpose according to the Bible. Church is a translation of the Greek term ecclesia and is used in the New Testament to identify the community of believers in Jesus Christ. It literally means assembly, congregation, or meeting. Yeah? In a building, a house, a temple, or gathering, a congregation or coming together in one particular place for worship. Ask a damn Christian. They will tell you that, right? They will set you straight what it means. Okay? If someone say, oh no, it's a church, it was a church. We defined it, it's not necessarily a church. But go talk to one of them, be nice about it, and they'll explain it to you. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay? So, we, the Ministry of the Real Truth, hope that's opened your eyes to the real truth. Okay? And that this person, we're grateful for their comments and trying to come at us, trying to undermine us, but obviously, Carmilla, you lose, right? Because we overcame you, we will overcome you, right? Because we are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and our policy is honesty is our best policy. Okay, we did admit to making a few mistakes. Who does that out there? What church does that out there? And then corrects it, right? Hardly any, very rarely any, right? Some churches will admit, oh yeah, damn, I made a mistake, sorry about that, got my wording wrong, whatever. So, yeah, honesty is our best policy, and we strive to live by that, and we strive through that to bring you the real truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But we put this policy up because we knew prior to this that we're going to get these people coming at us, these atheists, these agnostics, these agnostic atheists, these blah blah blahs, whatever, right, to try and undermine us, because we've seen it, you know, over the years with the other Christians, these Christian churches, these street preachers. It's still happening today. So we came prepared. Okay, many have tried to make something stick upon us, all this sort of stuff, but we go and find the information, the sources. We provide the sources, the links, the established facts, evidence that proves itself evident. We look at, okay, is this right, irrefutable, infallible, etc., etc. We look at behind the scenes, what's the dirt on this person, is there any dirt, and we reveal it to all. But first we stop and we listen to what all of these three organized religions have to say: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Right? We listen to what they say first, and then we analyze it. Okay, so we do the research on it, because some imams say that Muhammad was mentioned in the original ancient Aramaic scriptures. No, it's a complete lie. He was mentioned as Ahmed. So we looked at it, and we can also ask a native-born Aramaic speaker from Mesopotamia, Syria, is it there? Because he's the one that translated from that language, right? So he should know, or somebody else to that effect. And they say no. It's like we went to Dr. James D. San Francisco, and asked him, because these Hebrew Israelites, US Hebrew Israelites, keep saying these names for God. It's from the Hebrew. Yahu Wahi Washi, Yahu Woo Woo Woo, Yahu Wai 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 Wai, Ya Ya Wai Wai Wai, whatever. Right? And we thought, well, that sounds weird. And we realised, okay, you've got to look at two sides of the coin. When Bob Marley came out, a lot of people tried to identify with it besides smoking the weed, because they're looking for an identity. The identity was lost. Maybe some had a culture, but some liked that, right? And whatever Bob Marley was saying. But the American Negro, etc., whoever, embraced it because of the weed, and also what he was saying. It was like a lot of what he was saying was actually fact, right? Historical fact. And he's trying to free the minds of the people, all that sort of stuff, right? Okay. So these US Hebrew Israelites are saying, oh, Solomon was black, God was black, Jesus was black, everybody was black, oh, they spoke this, we're the original Hebrew Israelites, all this sort of stuff, and yet they cuss at people on the street, call them crackers and all that sort of stuff, because of the history of the African slaves, right, the chattel slaves. Okay, so they've still got grudges. Okay, so they pick on the descendants of these Europeans, slave traders, etc., Dutch ones, etc., that did all this to their people. Yet some of them deny, I know we're not Africans, we're Hebrew Israelites. You're descendants of African American slaves. Yeah, it's logic and common sense. Why are you denying it? Oh, in favour of we are the Hebrew Israelites. You're not. If you're not, you're saying we are the true Jews. You're not if you're not practicing their bar mitzvahs, their matzah bread making, all their custom rituals and stuff like that. Even a Jew will tell you that. You're not authentically Jewish. You're a wannabe. Okay? You're a cult. You're a fake movement. Okay? Sorry, but that's how it is. So we tell it how it is. We don't pull back our punches, right? All this sort of stuff. We don't try to pull the wool over your eyes. Okay? So, yeah, again, we get all these people coming at us. One, way back, years back, he gave us half the frickin' scriptures, right? And all this other junk in between, right? And we cleaned it up and then looked at it all and went bit by bit, line by line sort of thing, and explained to him, now, this is rubbish. What the hell is this rubbish? But that's what they try to put across to you. Okay? So that's what we're about, the ministry of the real truth. To look at it all, and we come to realise, because we used to go to church, attend churches, etc., like everybody else, and we felt there's something seriously wrong. Okay? They played this music to get you emotional, get your emotions up. The guy, the preacher would be saying certain words to trigger you and calling for you to go to the front, and then people would come around your house, like, deceive you. My friend just came from Israel. He knows all that stuff you're talking about. We'd go see him, You hop in a car, end up in the church. Or, I'll shout you Wendy's or something, right? Or Burger King or McDonald's or whatever. Yeah, hop in a car, we'd go get some for you. It's on me, we'd go end up in the church. That sort of deceit. Okay? Because they got this hidden motive, right? To pick you up, take you to the church, take you home, pick you up, come in your house, control you, try and convince you, okay, to give all your money to the church. Put it in a plate, give it all, right? Give 10% of your hard-earned wages, because they say, oh, if you plant a seed, but give us $1,000, plant a seed, you'll get this big harvest. It never happens, right? Because it's all prosperity rubbish. It's all designed to make them rich. The gullible give to the rich, and they get nothing in return. That's why they throw money at the preachers, because they're telling them, oh yeah, throw money at us, give us lots of money, and you'll get return, right? Because God says in the Bible, right? Well, this was a guy even gave his wallet, all his money in his wallet, and this priest, like this black preacher, whatever, he's a preacher, he's running around kicking it and rolling in it and all this sort of stuff. Money, 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 you know. Okay, so that's enough of us. We hope this opened your eyes to the real truth, whole truth that we're bringing you. Okay, honesty is our best policy, and we believe in chivalry. And if we make a mistake, we are human. That proves that we are human when we make mistakes, and we try to correct them as we find them, etc., etc. So we hope that you enjoyed this video again, and if you did, please subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments below, but be nice. We try to be nice, but sometimes we get a bit hot-headed. See, who admits to that, right? We're human. As Willie Shakespeare said in Shakespeare Speak, to err is human, but to forgive is divine. Okay? Yeah. Okay, so subscribe, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, add your comments, and then go share this video with all your family, friends, and others. We may leave it in its entire length, or we may cut it up so that into parts, so that you can listen to it in portions and absorb it more. Because if you have too much information, like 2 hours of a video, it's not going to all go in your brain, is it? Okay, that's scientifically proven. You're not going to absorb it all, so it's better to break it down. Like, you don't even have 30 seconds total focused attention, you know, like drift off and look somewhere else. That's why we have all the blurring over here, so you're not like looking sideways and going, oh, I wonder what that video is about. Oh, let's go over there, right? You're concentrating, you're focusing on what we have to say.